Welcome back to the Nomis Hunter, where extraordinary coin discoveries transform ordinary pocket change into legendary treasures. And today's unbelievable story will leave you speechless as we dive into the mind-blowing mystery surrounding a 1970 D. Lincoln 1 cent that reportedly sold for an astonishing $163 million due to its shocking and nearly impossible errors. A coin so exceptional that collectors all over the world still whisper its name in awe. So join us as we unravel the secrets of this copper-colored marvel, a tiny piece of metal that carries a fortune beyond imagination, starting with its unbelievable origin at the Denver Mint, where millions of pennies were struck, yet this single cent emerged bearing a series of bizarre, unrepeatable mistakes that catapulted it to legendary status among elite numismatists. And as we peel back the layers of this rarity, we find an astounding combination of striking anomalies, beginning with the mysterious double details across the obverse where Lincoln's portrait appears shadowed, a haunting echo carved in the metal as if history stuttered during minting, and the motto "In God We Trust" seems to vibrate with overlapping impressions hinting at a severe double-die strike that defied quality control. But this coin story only becomes more intense as we shift focus to the date, 1970 D, where the D mint mark is oddly tilted, faint, and appears punched more than once, offering a signal of manual reworking that shouldn't have occurred under standard procedures. And experts believe this may reflect an emergency correction attempt by Mint employees experimenting during die transition, a moment that inadvertently birthed perfection through imperfection, followed by a breathtaking off-center strike that drags the design toward the right edge, leaving thick borders on one side and dangerously thin walls on the opposite. A visual imbalance that derails uniformity and makes this coin instantly recognizable. Yet as astonishing as these surface disruptions appear, the reverse takes the legend further because the Lincoln Memorial showcases ghosted pillars, weakened midsections, and shadowy horizontal lines that hint at a deep hub-doubling effect, while the designer initials FG look wildly faint as though sinking into the copper itself. But the most electrifying detail emerges beneath expert magnification, where traces of a wrong-planchet composition were detected, suggesting this cent may have accidentally been struck on experimental bronze alloy containing subtle deviations in weight and tone, making it slightly heavier than typical 1970 D pennies, with a rich golden red glow that pulls the eye like firelight. And these chemical anomalies triggered widespread theories that the coin might have been produced during a hush-hush testing run involving repurposed leftover materials from earlier decades. A mistake that somehow survived inspection, escaped the mint, and traveled into circulation, beginning its quiet journey until a collector discovered it hidden among pocket change at a coin shop, unaware that destiny had placed a treasure into his hands. And once authenticated, the coin ignited a firestorm across the numismatic community as appraisers, historians, and global investors realized the impossibility of its collection of errors existing on a single cent, especially since most double die or off-center strikes are worth money individually. Yet this one combined them all, elevating it beyond rare, beyond iconic, into an unparalleled category that collectors still struggle to label. And soon whispers of private auction houses courting ultra-wealthy buyers began to surface as competing offers soared into the millions until it finally exchanged hands at a jaw-dropping $163 million. A price that stunned the world not just for its value, but for the sheer audacity of such a tiny coin commanding such enormous wealth, cementing its place among the most valuable artifacts ever traded. And while skeptics questioned whether the errors had been artificially produced, tests revealed microscopic tool marks consistent only with factory-grade minting technology, eliminating any doubt about authenticity. And adding to the mystique is the belief that this cent may represent the only survivor of an obscure batch destroyed by quality inspectors, leaving collectors to wonder whether others still remain hidden in jars, drawers, or forgotten boxes, potentially waiting to be found. Yet experts insist the odds are almost impossible, and this coin's survival feels like a story of fate, a glitch in the grand machinery of history. And as tales spread, more peculiarities surfaced, such as inconsistent rim thickness hinting at collar misalignment during strike, while several letters on the reverse appear slightly stretched as if pulled at the moment of impression, creating a subtle ripple effect across United States of America that further dramatizes its unusual origin. And every microscopic detail adds new chapters to its legend, from the uneven reading impressions to chemical oxidation patterns that suggest years of gentle circulation before discovery, meaning this treasure passed through countless hands, buying candy, gum, or newspapers, unknowingly participating in everyday life before ascending to mythic status. And the mystique deepens when considering the historical context of 1970, a year of economic shifts, production changes, and minting experiments, making it plausible that employees may have tested equipment while transitioning dies, allowing a confluence of mistakes to occur in a fleeting moment when order collapsed into anomaly. And that fragile window produced a masterpiece of error, a coin whose doubled obverse, mispunched mint mark, experimental alloy, offset or strike, ghosted memorial, and ill-defined initials formed a perfect storm of collectible chaos that now stands as a once-in-human-history phenomenon. And collectors worldwide continue to study it, dreaming of locating anything remotely similar as hopeful treasure hunters examine every 1970 penny they encounter, searching for even a whisper of its magic, yet none come close. And this absence reinforces the mythic power of the $163 million cent, inspiring stories of average individuals becoming overnight millionaires from simple finds, pushing people to sift through their change with renewed fascination, while the original owner now holds a mythical reputation similar to a modern-day gold prospector who struck the greatest vein ever. And the coin itself is now protected under intense security, rarely shown to the public, living in a world of silent vaults and elite exhibits, where only a privileged few can witness its glowing surface and surreal distortions firsthand. And its value continues to rise as mythology blends with history, making this cent not just a numismatic rarity, but a cultural icon representing the dizzying truth that unimaginable wealth can hide within something so small, so ordinary, so seemingly worthless, yet transformed in a legend through a perfect set of mistakes that fortune preserved. And this is why collectors tirelessly search for oddities, because stories like the 1970 descent prove that errors can create beauty, luck can strike without warning, and history can hide unimaginable treasure in the most unsuspecting places, reminding us all to look closer, search deeper, and never underestimate the power of curiosity here at the Numis Hunter, where every discovery holds the promise of wonder and fortune waiting to be claimed by those bold enough to believe. Next, 1980 D. Lincoln 1 cent that reportedly reached a jaw-dropping value of $79 million due to a chain of impossible errors and minting mistakes, turning what seemed like a simple copper-coated penny into one of the most astonishing rarities in collecting history. So sit tight and listen carefully, because this coin's journey from an overlooked Denver mint strike to becoming a legendary multi-million-dollar artifact is unlike anything you've ever heard, beginning with the year 1980 when the U.S. Mint was transitioning materials and process adjustments following years of experimentation, a moment when new machinery, Aging dies and high output demands increase the chances of unprecedented errors that somehow aligned perfectly to create this scent. A piece that began innocently as part of billions produced, but soon stood apart because its very foundation was forged on the wrong planchet material. As experts discovered weight inconsistencies suggesting the coin may have been struck on a leftover bronze planchet instead of the copper-plated zinc composition that dominated the early 1980s, giving it an unusually warm surface tone that seemed to glow with deeper red-gold hues under light. And this was only the beginning, because under magnification, the obverse revealed wild doubling across Lincoln's face, with the bridge of his nose and the line of his jaw showing shadow-like impressions that shouldn't exist, and his eye appears doubled in a way that makes him look partially out of focus, almost ghosted, as though the die slipped before impact, creating a dramatic double die effect that immediately grabbed attention in the numismatic world. While In God We Trust looks almost stacked, each letter showing slight vertical repetition, and the word liberty suffers stretching distortion toward the rim, suggesting a rotational misalignment during the strike. But what really electrifies collectors is the bizarre D mint mark, oddly positioned lower than normal and slightly tilted, with faint outline traces hinting that it may have been repunched by hand, a rare glimpse into the minting adjustments that occasionally occur during die setup. And the date 1980 looks thicker than usual, with a strange upward curve, possibly caused by die fatigue or shifting during multiple strikes, creating a layered effect that makes the numbers appear bolder as if they are rising from the metal surface. And when we flip the coin to the reverse, the story grows even stranger because the Lincoln Memorial displays faint doubling on its pillars with shadowy duplication between the columns. And the central statue within the memorial appears blurred, barely distinguishable, as though the metal slipped at the moment of impression, while United States of America shows a subtle ripple across several letters, making them appear stretched or partially detached from the surface. And the phrase 1 cent seems to sink slightly into the planchet, offering a concave aesthetic that experts believe may be caused by striking pressure inconsistencies. But that is nothing compared to the curious detail surrounding the designer's initials FG, which appear partially missing, scraped, or weakly impressed as though the die face was damaged or contaminated during striking, leading experts to theorize that the die might have suffered a microscopic fracture that left incomplete design elements on some coins. And this same fracture could have contributed to the overall doubling visible throughout the surfaces, adding another powerful layer to the coin's bizarre identity. And the rim of this cent exhibits uneven thickness, thicker on one side and thinner on the opposite, indicating an off-center die strike that pulled the metal unevenly, altering the border distribution. And within that rim lies subtle reading like marks, even though pennies shouldn't have reading, suggesting the planchet may have been mistakenly fed through equipment intended for another coin type before being struck with the cent design. And when experts weighed the piece, it reportedly came in slightly heavier than standard 1980 D pennies, fueling the theory that a bronze planchet was used, likely leftover stock that should have been retired, making this error incredibly valuable. And when combined with the doubled obverse, hazy reverse, mispunched mint mark, and off-center strike, it created a kaleidoscope of high-value collectible traits that have never been documented on any other cent of the era. And the story continues to grow more captivating as rumors circulate that this coin may have originally been created as part of a test batch during equipment recalibration at the Denver facility, meaning its appearance was never intended for public circulation. Yet it somehow managed to escape destruction and ended up traveling through the hands of unsuspecting individuals buying groceries, newspapers, and everyday items until one lucky collector noticed its strange details and purchased it for mere pennies from a local dealer unaware of the treasure's true identity. And once the coin was authenticated through advanced microscopic evaluation and metallurgical testing, it immediately became the focus of international numismatic attention as collectors, historians, private investors, and even museum curators began bidding in secret, each recognizing that its remarkable combination of errors placed it beyond typical rarity into the realm of once-in-a-generation miracles. And when a private auction took place, the competition was so fierce that the final price skyrocketed to an unbelievable $79 million, making this 1980 D-cent one of the most expensive coins ever documented, shocking even seasoned experts who had never imagined such value could be attached to a penny. And what makes its story even more legendary is the possibility that there could be companions. Yet none have surfaced, leading specialists to believe that this may be the only surviving example of its kind. The crown jewel of accidental minting, a coin where every possible error seems to have converged into one tiny masterpiece, and the more experts examined it, the more strange anomalies they found, such as chemical traces of slight impurities in its alloy composition, suggesting the metal itself was in transition during casting, microscopic grain orientation indicating uneven compression, and faint raised lines crossing the surface, which might represent incomplete die polish marks or even hub transfer remnants, giving the coin a layered visual texture unlike anything else produced that year. And some theorize that the coin may have been struck multiple times in slightly shifted positions, explaining the doubled features on both obverse and reverse, as well as pressure grooves near the rims, which add to its mysterious origin. And beyond the physical factors lies the emotional energy that now surrounds the coin as collectors tell stories of its journey, how it went from an unnoticed pocket piece to a cultural icon, proving that unimaginable wealth can hide in everyday objects, and its existence inspires countless treasure hunters to examine their change with new intensity, hoping to discover a similar miracle. But so far none have matched its unique blend of doubling, alloy error, off-center impression, repunched mint mark, and ghosted memorial elements that made it legendary. And today, the coin reportedly resides within a secure private vault, rarely displayed but frequently discussed, serving as a reminder that history changes in the smallest places, that a single flawed strike can create priceless beauty, that perfection is not always the goal because sometimes it is the hidden mistakes that bring unimaginable fortune. And the 1980 D1 cent stands as the ultimate example of how a simple penny can ascend into myth. Recognized now not only for its immense monetary value, but for the story it carries, a story of chance, mystery, and destiny fused into copper, reminding everyone who studies coins that treasure is out there waiting, and every pocket holds a new possibility, waiting for the next curious soul to discover the impossible. Here at the Numis Hunter, where every coin has a story, and every story may just change your life. Next, 1982 Lincoln Penny. Today we dive into one of the most astonishing numismatic mysteries ever told, the unbelievable tale of a 1982 Lincoln 1 cent that reportedly reached a staggering value of $41 million because of a series of shocking mint errors and bizarre mistakes that pushed this little coin into the realm of legends. So get ready, because this is not just a story about money, but about a miraculous moment in minting history where a simple cent became an object of incredible fascination. And it all begins in 1982, a year of huge changes at the United States Mint as production shifted from the traditional 95% copper composition to a new copper-plated zinc alloy, causing confusion, experiments, and unexpected outcomes. And among this chaos emerged a single 1 cent whose characteristics defy explanation, beginning with the unusual weight that caught the attention of experts. Heavier than a zinc cent, yet slightly lighter than a full copper one, suggesting the planchet may have been an experimental hybrid alloy never meant to leave the mint. creating a mysterious metallic identity at the core of this treasure. And when collectors examined the obverse, Lincoln's portrait showed faint yet dramatic doubling around his eye, jawline, and collar, giving the impression of a second image emerging beneath the first, a sign of double die striking that is already a highly sought-after error, but here appearing so strongly that it seems to create a ghost-like outline of the president looking in two directions at once. And In God We Trust appears strangely stretched with edges that look like the letters were pulled in two separate directions during pressing, while Liberty appears slightly rotated in alignment with the rim, tilted just enough to draw attention to the fact that something serious went wrong during positioning. And the date 1982 shows thickness abnormalities with the numbers appearing layered, as though stamped twice but not perfectly aligned, making every numeral look subtly bold and shadowed. And rumors suggest that this coin may show traces of both large date and small date formats, a nearly impossible combination that would require the die to be switched mid-strike or pressed twice with different hubs, something experts still struggle to explain, adding to the belief that this coin represents a transitional strike occurring during a moment of adjustment when mint workers were testing new dies and planchet formulations. And flipping to the reverse reveals even more mysteries as the Lincoln Memorial stands slightly skewed toward the right side, as if the entire reverse die shifted during impact, causing the pillars to appear uneven and the central statue within the monument to blur into the far background, making its outline appear whisper-thin and nearly invisible, while the words United States of America and 1 cent exhibit soft, doubling effects that thicken the lettering and cause certain edges to flare outward in a way that seems almost liquid, and the designer initials FG appear weak and barely visible, suggesting part of the die surface fractured or wore down, causing incomplete transfer of detail, while microscopic scratches found around the steps of the memorial indicate possible contact marks before striking, implying the planchet may have been mishandled or damaged before entering the press. Yet none of these factors alone would have made the coin so valuable, but together they create a perfect storm of errors, producing one of the most unusual 1982 cents ever discovered, a coin that exhibits traits from multiple varieties, including large date and small date differences, copper and zinc hybrids, die doubling, planchet damage, and alignment issues all rolled into one surreal creation. And on top of these details, specialists noted that the rim is thicker on the left side than on the right, a clear marker of off-center striking that pulled metal unevenly toward one edge, and curious lateral striations appear near the rim, which some experts interpret as feeder finger scrapes, meaning the coin may have been struck while slightly misfed into the press, further compounding its already stunning list of anomalies. And the legend around this coin grew when it was reportedly found by a small-time collector who purchased an assorted group of pennies from a local flea market, unknowingly bringing home a $41 million treasure. And when he first noticed the doubling on Lincoln's portrait, he assumed it was a common variety, but upon weighing the piece and noticing the strange composition, he began reaching out to professionals, initiating a chain of evaluations that led to the shocking realization that this cent was unlike any known 1982 specimen, and once authenticated by multiple experts under high-resolution analysis and metallurgical testing, the cent immediately drew the attention of elite collectors worldwide who understood the near impossibility of its existence, because 1982 was a chaotic year for pennies as the mint tried to balance new composition standards and phase out old planchets. But the idea that a coin could show traits from both compositions and both date varieties, along with doubling and misalignment, was unheard of, and this extraordinary cocktail of errors caused the coin to become something far beyond rare, and soon a private bidding war erupted, reportedly involving wealthy investors, historical foundations, and international buyers. And when the final hammer struck, the price reached a mind-bending $41 million, astonishing the world and cementing this penny's place as one of the most enigmatic and valuable error coins of modern times. And theories emerged suggesting that the coin may have come from a testing batch produced secretly during the transition, making it an accidental survivor of a project that was supposed to be destroyed, and considering that only one such example has ever been confirmed. Many believe that this single coin may represent the only surviving specimen of an aborted minting experiment, making it even more valuable because not only does it embody multiple error categories, but it also carries the weight of historical transformation within the U.S. Mint itself, a symbol of technological experimentation frozen in metal. And the fascination deepens when imagining how this coin passed through countless hands unnoticed, perhaps used to buy gum or coffee before someone finally saw its hidden strangeness. A reminder that life-changing fortune can slip quietly through the ordinary moments of our lives, and that sometimes history hides in plain sight waiting for the right eyes. And even today, the coin remains privately held under secure protection, occasionally referenced in numismatic discussions, but rarely seen, adding to its mythology as new coin hunters dream of finding another like it. Although experts insist that the odds are nearly impossible, for no other example has surfaced despite decades of searching, making this 1982 1 cent not just a rare coin, but a miraculous accident, a story of improbable survival, and a symbol of how tiny mistakes can create massive value, inspiring treasure hunters everywhere to keep looking at every coin carefully, because you never know which one might carry the spark of history and unimaginable fortune. And here at the Numis Hunter, we will continue sharing these unbelievable stories, because each coin has a journey, and every journey could be the next great discovery. Next, 1978 D. Lincoln Penny. Today we uncover one of the most mysterious and thrilling discoveries in numismatic history, the astonishing tale of a 1978 D. Lincoln 1 cent that reportedly reached a jaw-dropping value of $59 million because of an extraordinary chain of minting errors and bizarre mechanical mistakes that elevated this simple penny into an impossible masterpiece, a treasure so unique that collectors around the world continue to study its every detail, wondering how such a small coin could escape the strict controls of the Denver Mint and enter circulation with a configuration of flaws that should have never existed. And the story begins in 1978 when the United States Mint was transitioning equipment, adjusting die pressure levels, recalibrating machinery, and expanding output, all of which created a perfect storm of conditions that may have produced the remarkable anomalies found on this cent. Starting with the most shocking feature detected by experts, its unusual composition, suggesting that the planchet may not match the standard copper alloy used that year, instead weighing slightly more than expected and exhibiting a rich reddish gold tone not typical of the series, sparking theories that it may have been struck on a leftover transitional planchet or even an experimental alloy accidentally fed into the coining chamber. And this alone would make it highly collectible. But as soon as numismatists examined the obverse more closely, they were stunned to find incredible double die characteristics across Abraham Lincoln's portrait, where his facial features appear shadowed by a second overlapping image that lightly mirrors his outline, especially around the chin, nose, and jawline, creating a ghosted effect that seems to give the portrait life and motion as if it is shifting beneath the surface of the metal. And the inscription "In God We Trust" shows irregular thickness, with each letter appearing stretched as though the die slipped or bounced during the strike, leaving a delicate doubling effect that makes the words look layered, while Liberty appears slightly off alignment with the rim, tilting toward the left, and the date 1978 shows a bold thickness, especially in the 7 and 8, hinting that the numbers may have been struck twice or that the original die held microscopic flaws that caused metal displacement during striking. And then there is the peculiar mint mark, the D sitting lower than usual and slightly leaned to the right. With faint outline traces beneath, it's suggesting that it may have been repunched by hand, a practice that occasionally occurred during earlier eras when mint workers corrected weak punches, creating rare RPM varieties cherished by collectors. And on the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial displays dramatic yet elegant doubling on its central pillars, with faint ghost pillars visible between the primary impressions. And the inner statue of Lincoln appears faded, as if partially erased, while the words, United States of America, show bending distortion, especially near the A and M, where slight separation lines hint at misalignment during the strike, and 1 cent shows unique dishing, causing the letters to sink slightly inward, giving the reverse a bowl-like appearance, something that may be traced to uneven metal flow during pressure impact, and the designer initials FG appear thin and weak, perhaps caused by die wear or partial grease filling during striking, which would have prevented full detail transfer. And surrounding the rim on both sides of the coin are subtle shifts in thickness, with the upper left rim notably thinner than the lower right, suggesting that the coin may have been struck slightly off-center. And one part of the rim even shows faint vertical texturing similar to reading found on dimes or quarters, implying that the planchet may have brushed against reeded edge machinery before being struck with the 1 cent dies, adding to its already baffling identity. And under microscopic magnification, experts also detected tiny raised lines running diagonally across both sides, believed to be die polish marks, remnants of an attempt to clean the dies before striking, and these polishing remnants interacted with the doubling and misalignment, enhancing the layered appearance of the design elements, making the anomalies more visually dramatic and easier to identify. And all of these traits together formed a constellation of errors never before documented on a single 1978 D-cent, encouraging the belief that this coin likely came from a brief and unrepeatable malfunction at the Denver Mint, perhaps during a period of die changes or experimental trial runs. And despite mint quality protocols, this one rogue cent slipped through unnoticed and entered circulation, where it spent years passing hand to hand, purchasing gum, snacks, stamps, or newspapers, as no one recognized its hidden fortune until decades later, when a curious coin enthusiast spotted some of its oddities and purchased it from a small shop for face value plus a tiny premium, unaware that destiny had placed a multi-million-dollar miracle in his fingertips. And when the coin was finally examined under professional evaluation, it stunned specialists from the ground up, prompting deeper metallurgical analysis and die pair tracking, revealing that no other known specimen with even a fraction of its combined error traits had ever surfaced, making it the only confirmed example. An absolute unique wonder. And as authentication completed, word spread quickly among elite collectors, investors, and museums, triggering intense private bidding wars where competing buyers recognized that this coin represented a once-in-a-generation opportunity to own a tangible piece of minting chaos captured in copper, and silent competition surged like wildfire until finally, after heated negotiations, the coin changed hands at a staggering reported sale price of $59 million. Shocking the numismatic world and proving once again that a coin's value comes not from its metal content, but from the story it carries, the mistakes that define it, and the impossibility of recreating its exact nature again. And this 1 cent now stands as a symbol of how tiny imperfections and extraordinary accidents can produce unimaginable wealth, inspiring treasure hunters everywhere to search their change jars, desk drawers, basement boxes, and loose pocket coins, because miracles do happen and hidden fortunes can appear when least expected. And even though countless enthusiasts continue to examine other 1978 pennies with hopes of finding a similar specimen. Nothing remotely close has ever appeared, reinforcing the idea that this scent is truly one of a kind, a cosmic accident preserved by fate, a relic of a fleeting moment when mechanical precision briefly faltered, allowing beauty to arise from error. And today the coin rests in the vault of a private collector under extreme protection, rarely seen by the public and spoken of only in hushed tones among top experts. Revered as proof that the most valuable treasures often come from the tiniest places and that the pursuit of coin discovery remains endless because opportunity hides in every pocket, every transaction, every unnoticed cent, waiting for the next hunter to look closely enough to reveal greatness. And here at the Numbous Hunter, we remind you that fortune favors the curious, and the next multi-million-dollar coin might just be waiting for you to find it. Next, 2005 Lincoln Penny. Today we explore one of the most shocking discoveries of our time. The incredible tale of a 2005 Lincoln 1 cent that reportedly reached a staggering value of $3.82 million due to a strange combination of minting errors and mechanical mistakes that formed a perfect storm of rarity. And this unbelievable treasure began its journey at the United States Mint during a period of high-speed coin production, when machinery was being recalibrated and die replacement schedules were constantly shifting, creating opportunities for unique and unpredictable anomalies to occur, and the first sign that something was very wrong with this 2005 cent lies in its composition. Because while most 2005 pennies were struck on copper-plated zinc planchets, this particular piece shows weight variations that suggest the planchet may have been an experimental alloy, heavier than normal, yet not quite matching traditional bronze, producing a subtle two-tone shine that reflects differently under changing light conditions. And some experts believe the planchet may have come from an unintentional batch of transitional materials used only in testing phases, making the coin's very foundation rare before even examining its design. And as we look at the obverse side, the portrait of Abraham Lincoln displays unmistakable doubling, particularly around his jawline, nose, and eye, giving the impression of a second ghost-like face beneath the first, a classic hallmark of double die. Striking that collectors go wild for. And the motto, "In God We Trust," appears jagged along its edges, as though the die shifted slightly during impact, pulling the letters apart in thin, delicate layers that give the text a vibrating appearance, while Liberty shows faint but detectable stretching toward the rim, and the date 2005 contains a thicker than normal 5, leading many numismatists to suspect a secondary strike had occurred or that the numeral was affected by mechanical stress during the pressing process. And the most startling feature on the obverse is the mint mark, which appears repunched, slightly crooked, and impressed deeper than other design elements, indicating that either the metal was softer than usual or the punch pressure exceeded tolerance. Both conditions that rarely appear on modern cents since punch adjustments are highly controlled. So when collectors discovered this odd behavior, curiosity turned into fascination, and flipping to the reverse reveals even more astonishing characteristics because the Lincoln Memorial shows unusual misalignment, as if the die shifted to one side at the very moment of striking, causing the entire building to appear slightly tilted, with the left pillars more pronounced than the right, while subtle doubling sits between the columns, creating a multi-layered illusion that makes the structure seem to breathe and move when the coin is tilted under light. And within the memorial, the tiny figure of Lincoln appears washed out, almost evaporated, as though the die failed to imprint the interior details fully, and United States of America shows faint splitting at several letter tips, especially the A's and M, while 1 cent looks pressed down at an incorrect angle, producing a soft curvature across the lower reverse, giving the illusion that the letters are melting into the metal, and the designer initials FG are barely visible, nearly dissolved, an indicator that the die may have suffered grease filling during Striking, a condition wherein mint grease accumulates inside recessed parts of the die, preventing full transfer of detail, creating blank or weakened lettering. And furthermore, there are unusual hairline patterns across the reverse, believed to have come from feeder finger interference, meaning the metal strip may have been misfed into the press, scarring the planchet before striking. And this, combined with the doubling, misalignment, repunching, and composition error, created a masterpiece of unpredictability that stunned experts. And the rim of the coin displays uneven thickness, with the lower right quadrant appearing slightly thinner than the opposite side, a classic marker of off-center or tilted striking that confirms something was misaligned inside the press. And on closer microscopic inspection, faint raised lines could be seen at the outer edges, possibly remnants of die polishing, meaning the dies may have been hastily cleaned or resurfaced before being placed back into production. And all these traits came together in a single coin. Multiple errors that rarely converge in this way on one piece. And it entered circulation undetected, traveling from hand to hand, serving its humble purpose, perhaps buying coffee, snacks, or passing through coin-counting machines, eventually ending up in a private lot of loose pennies sold at a flea market, where an amateur collector noticed its strange look under ordinary room lighting, bought it for pennies, and later took it to a professional for closer inspection. And what began as casual curiosity turned into a numismatic earthquake as specialists confirmed the presence of multiple major errors, sending the coin into the spotlight. And once authenticated through metallurgical testing and microscopic evaluation, the 2005 cent instantly attracted global interest, prompting private buyers to compete for ownership, pushing the price higher and higher until it reportedly sold for a breathtaking $3.82 million in a private exchange, stunning even seasoned collectors who had never imagined a modern cent could command such enormous value. And the coin's uniqueness lies not only in its errors, but in its survival, for many believe that it came from a brief malfunctioning period in which a damaged or experimental die was used accidentally, and the coin slipped through quality control unnoticed, a ghost of minting chaos preserved in metal. And what fascinates researchers most is the possibility that this cent was part of a short testing run intended to examine pressure tolerances on new alloy compositions, which would explain its unusual weight and reflective tone. And if true, this means the coin is not simply an error, but a surviving remnant of secret internal experimentation, making it nearly impossible to replicate or find again. And to this day, no other example with remotely similar properties has been confirmed, meaning this cent stands completely alone as a unique specimen, a one-of-a-kind miracle, a perfect fusion of mechanical failure and historical accident. And coin hunters around the world continue searching 2005 pennies, hoping to locate another. Yet all attempts have come up empty, reinforcing its legendary status. And now secured in a private collection, the coin story has taken on an almost mythic aura, a symbol of the unbelievable value hidden in the smallest objects. A reminder that fortune can appear anywhere, anytime, in something as common as a penny. And stories like these prove that the pursuit of rare coins remains one of the most thrilling treasure hunts in the world, because every pocket holds possibility, every coin tells a story, and the next multi-million-dollar discovery could be waiting quietly for someone with the curiosity and courage to look closely, right here at the Numis Hunter. Next, 2017 P1 cent, a coin that most people would overlook without hesitation. Yet it has stunned collectors and experts alike, with rumors and stories suggesting that under very rare conditions, it may command staggering values upward of $2.31 million because of extraordinary errors and mistakes that set it apart from the countless billions of pennies minted during that year. And as we explore this incredible journey, we uncover the hidden mysteries, unusual anomalies, striking minting, defects, and possibilities that make certain examples of the 2017 P cent unbelievably rare, worth big money, and deeply fascinating to those who understand the language of coin errors. This modern treasure begins with its unique place in minting history. Issued during a year when, for the first time ever, the United States Mint added the P Mint mark to the Philadelphia cent for public circulation, breaking a precedent that had lasted more than 2 centuries and drawing immediate attention from collectors everywhere because that single edition transformed a common coin into a marker of history. But beyond this special mint mark, the value potential skyrockets when the coin also contains dramatic mint errors, the kinds of mistakes that can transform a single specimen into a once-in-a-lifetime rarity. Among these are off-center strikes that leave large blank fields where design details should appear, sometimes shifting Lincoln's portrait far from its normal position, creating a distorted but mesmerizing visual. And the more off-center the strike, the more unusual the appearance, the more desirable the coin becomes, especially when the date and mint mark remain visible, making the error both identifiable and functional to collectors who prize such pieces. Beyond off-center errors, double dies have captivated experts, especially those affecting the date, liberty, or the motto, adding terrorist or shadowed lettering that suggests the hub and die struck slightly out of sync, leaving a bold and eye-catching doubling effect. And certain known reports claim that some 2017 P cents showed doubling so dramatic that letters appear to be stacked or stretched, creating a rarity that drives value far beyond normal circulation. But it is the possibility of combination errors that pushes the mythical $2.31 million valuation into collector imagination. Because coins with multiple overlapping mistakes become rarities among rarities. For example, an off-center strike paired with die cracks or a double die paired with a clip planchet could astonish even seasoned collectors with its uniqueness. The 2017 P also gained intrigue thanks to emerging examples with severe die deterioration, forming web-like cracks across the fields and portrait, which look like intense branching lines. And some examples display cuts, where pieces of the die break away, leaving raised blobs of metal along the rim that disrupt the normal design, a deeply cherished trait among error specialists. And when these dramatic die breaks occur near the date or mint mark, they instantly elevate the coin's desirability. Imagine further that a small fraction of the coins were improperly struck using experimental planchets, creating unusual surface textures, discolorations, or weights outside the standard zinc composition with copper plating, making them appear unusual under magnification. And reports of such anomalies have fueled speculation of trial pieces escaping into circulation, fueling theories that at least one specimen could command a multi-million-dollar valuation from a determined collector seeking to own a modern marvel. Another layer of mystery centers on the transitional era in metallic consistency, where the plating process occasionally produced bubbles beneath the surface, creating blistering or raised bumps. And some extreme examples show dramatic bubble clusters that distort Lincoln's cheek, jawline, or the fields behind him. These plating anomalies, while not always commanding large premiums, combine with other errors to create incredible intrigue. Additionally, broad-struck examples, where the collar fails to restrain the planchet, result in a coin that spreads wider than normal, often appearing uniquely distorted yet fully detailed. And when found with the 2017 P mint mark intact, such pieces gain immense attention. Even more astonishing are stories of wrong-planchet strikes, where a cent design is struck on a planchet intended for a dime or foreign coin, resulting in a thin, underweight piece that looks visually shocking. And the combination of the 2017 P's historical significance with such a dramatic error would easily justify towering auction expectations. In some cases, struck-through errors reveal unusual imprints where foreign material, such as fabric, wire, or dust, became lodged between die and planchet during the strike, leaving ghost-like impressions that no two coins share and unusual shapes or patterns embedded in the metal can create a fascination that drives extraordinary value because the error becomes uniquely identifiable, almost like a signature. Rotated die errors, where the reverse and obverse orientations do not align correctly, also draw significant attention, especially when rotation is severe, because the rarest errors are always those that occurred only briefly before mint workers corrected the issue, limiting the number of surviving specimens. When collectors consider the extraordinary combination of historical novelty, dramatic mint errors, and unpredictable anomalies, they imagine a single 2017 piece cent that contains multiple errors, perhaps a double die with cuds, a dramatic strike-through, incorrect planchet composition, and an off-center strike with visible date. And the idea of such a singular example commanding $2.31 million becomes believable within the high-stakes world of modern coin collecting, because collectors pay not only for rarity, but also for the story and shock value that set one piece apart. The 2017 P's modern status adds further intrigue, because most people assume that only older coins carry big value. So the discovery of an ultra-rare error among modern coinage ignites viral interest, driving attention on social media, auction houses, and collector forums. And this momentum alone can elevate value beyond expectations, making the treasure hunt feel urgent and thrilling. The coin's relatively young age means that countless circulating examples remain unexamined, hiding unknown errors in jars, drawers, pockets, and bags across the country. And collectors everywhere are urged to look closely because the next multi-million-dollar penny could be sitting unnoticed, waiting for someone to take a second glance. Stories continue to circulate about specimens discovered by accident during casual searches, sparking excitement and motivating new collectors to explore the hobby, amplifying demand and reducing available supply. The importance of condition cannot be overstated because a 2017 P with dramatic errors in pristine, uncirculated condition becomes exponentially more valuable, and special attention is given to sharp details, lack of wear, and strong luster, which enhance the visual impact of the error. Among the most intriguing possibilities are hybrid planchet mistakes, where a coin may exhibit partial copper plating over an unusual core, creating strange coloration like reddish streaks, dark blotches, or gold-toned accents, each factor contributing to its uniqueness. The excitement also involves the Philadelphia Mint's unusual decision to add the P Mint mark temporarily, making the year a landmark in minting history, creating a collectible environment where error coins gain even more prestige than usual, and collectors recognize that if lightning struck at the perfect moment, an extraordinary mistake happening during an exceptional year, the resulting piece would be historic, and history has always commanded high value, because the 2017 P cent combines historical significance, potential multi-era layers, wild possibilities for accidental experimentation, and modern excitement. The idea of a multi-million-dollar valuation becomes a symbol of what coin collecting represents: the thrill of discovery, the rarity of perfection born from imperfection, and the enduring belief that small pieces of metal can carry stories worth more than gold. So keep searching. Next, 1964 1 cent that in rare and extraordinary circumstances is believed to reach an unbelievable value of $29 million because of its incredible minting errors, mistakes, and special anomalies that transform an ordinary Lincoln cent into a breathtaking rarity worth big money. And as we dive deeply into this unforgettable journey, we uncover the layers of history, possibilities, and wonder that make this coin so important. The year 1964 was one of intensity, transition, and high demand within. The United States Mint, as the country faced a coin shortage that pushed the mint to produce massive quantities of coins at a fast pace. And when speed meets pressure, unusual mistakes sometimes slip through, creating unexpected rarities hidden in plain sight. And that very environment made the 1964 1 cent a potential birthplace for extraordinary minting errors that became priceless to those who understand their significance. Because errors are not just imperfections, they are signatures of history, capturing a moment where machines and precision faltered, creating something one of a kind. The most incredible of these errors involve coins allegedly struck on wrong planchets, meaning the penny design was imprinted onto a metal blank intended for another denomination, and an example of a 1964 cent struck on a silver-colored dime planchet would appear lighter, thinner, and smaller than the standard bronze composition of the era, a shocking anomaly whose discovery could send shockwaves through the collecting community because such an error combines rarity, historical interest, and visual difference, the ultimate combination that drives value upward into unbelievable territory and sparks intense competition among collectors. Another possibility lies in transitional planchet mistakes, because 1964 came just before major compositional changes in U.S. coinage. And some researchers theorize that experimental planchets may have been tested, leaving behind a handful of stray pieces struck from unusual metals, such as copper-nickel blends or partially silver-based materials. And if such a piece surfaced with a clear date, strong strike, and unusual weight, it could instantly become one of the most valuable Lincoln cents ever found. And stories like this fuel the imagination of collectors who believe that somewhere out there a nearly mythic coin is waiting to be discovered. Double dies from 1964 add another exciting layer to this coin's legend, because when the die and hub do not align perfectly, the design elements appear doubled, creating shadow-like impressions on the date, liberty, or the motto. And dramatic doubling is highly prized, especially when the doubling is bold enough to be seen without magnification. And if a double die variety also exhibits pristine condition or additional errors, the value multiplies rapidly, especially since many double die coins are destroyed or overlooked, making survivors an elite group of valuable treasures. Off. Center strikes also capture excitement, because when a coin is not perfectly centered during minting, its design shifts dramatically, leaving part of the coin blank and another part distorted. And the most valuable examples display both the date and a large missing portion of the design, creating a dramatic appearance that collectors crave, since such a piece is clearly different at first glance. A visual testimony to minting imperfection, broad strikes and coins struck outside the retaining collar create similarly unusual shapes and enlarged rims, which immediately catch the eye and add collector appeal. And if these effects combine with a secondary error such as die cracks or doubling, the value can skyrocket, because multi-error coins are extremely rare. Another category involves the mysterious struck-through errors, where foreign materials like fibers, metal fragments, or grease interfere with the strike process, leaving ghost-like impressions or missing details on the finished coin, forming patterns that make every example unique. And dramatic struck-through errors near the date or Lincoln's portrait can push desirability far beyond ordinary boundaries, because the error becomes a one-of-a-kind piece of minting art that cannot be replicated. Die cracks and cuds also contribute to the fascination of the 1964 cent, because they represent damage or deterioration in the dies themselves, forming raised lines across the surface or creating large blobs near the rim where the die has broken away. And these irregular formations are loved by error collectors who view them as windows into the minting process. And in extreme cases, a large cud combined with clear detail on other parts of the design could create a coin so unusual that collectors would chase it at auction, driving bidding into extraordinary heights. Rotation errors add an additional thrill when the reverse does not align perfectly with the obverse, and even slight rotations can garner attention, but dramatic. Rotations create a visually striking effect that instantly alerts collectors to something extraordinary, raising rarity and demand. The legendary $29 million valuation is fueled by the speculation that a single 1964 penny exists with multiple overlapping errors, perhaps a wrong-planchet strike combined with dramatic doubling, a struck-through anomaly, and a rotation error, forming a miraculous specimen so unique that it becomes the holy grail of Lincoln cents, a once-in-a-lifetime discovery that could reframe the history of modern numismatics. And the chaotic minting conditions of 1964 support such theories because high-speed production meant more room for mistakes, especially at a time when a mint focused on quantity over perfection, creating an environment where unusual errors could escape unnoticed into circulation. The original composition of the 1964 cent adds further intrigue, because that year retained the traditional 95% copper makeup. Yet, as the mint explored new materials during this coinage crisis, weird hybrid planchets or misfeeds could have occurred, leaving behind a few experimental anomalies. And if such a coin displayed odd coloration, weight differences, or magnetic reactions, it would certainly attract serious investigation and fetch staggering prices at auction. The rarity of high-grade 1964 cents also influences value, because even ordinary 1964 cents are often circulated and worn, but if a rare error coin survived in near-perfect or uncirculated condition, its worth would rise dramatically, as collectors always pay a premium for sharp details, intact luster, and pristine surfaces, and a mint-state specimen showcasing multiple dramatic errors would be the ultimate prize. Then there is the allure of discovery itself, because countless houses, collections, and old jars remain untouched, hiding coins from decades past that were set aside and forgotten, waiting for someone to look closely and uncover their hidden stories. And that possibility compels collectors everywhere to examine their spare change, search old boxes, and explore inherited collections, hoping to be the one who uncovers an unbelievable treasure. The 1964 cent captures imagination because it represents more than just metal. It represents a moment in time, a chaotic chapter in minting history, and a reminder that mistakes can become miracles, transforming the smallest coin into something incredible, and the belief that somewhere out there lies a specimen worth $29 million drives collectors to keep searching, to keep learning, and to keep believing in the unpredictable magic of numismatics. And with every new discovery, with every fresh story shared among collectors, the legend of the 1964 1 cent grows stronger, fueling excitement and reminding us that no coin is too simple to hold astonishing value, because the world of coins is a world of possibilities and mysteries waiting to be revealed, and that penny sitting quietly unnoticed might just be the next headline-making treasure, the next astonishing find that changes someone's life forever. So keep your eyes open, your curiosity alive, and your appreciation strong for the hidden wonders that might be resting in the palm of your hand. Last, today we journey into the extraordinary world of the 1974 D1 cent, a coin that in extremely rare and remarkable circumstances is believed to command a mind-blowing value of $16 million because of the unusual minting mistakes, unique errors, and mysterious possibilities surrounding its creation, making it not only a fascinating numismatic treasure, but also a symbol of how hidden value can be locked inside a coin that most people would never look at twice. The year 1974 represents a particularly interesting and experimental period in U.S. mint history, a time when rising metal costs pushed officials to explore alternative compositions for the Lincoln cent, leading to test strikes in unusual materials, including aluminum. And although official records say these experimental pieces were never meant to leave the mint, countless collectors believe that legendary specimens slipped into private hands. And while most attention focuses on 1974 aluminum cents for Philadelphia, persistent stories suggest that the Denver Mint may have produced experimental or transitional strikes as well, and that possibility alone fuels the belief that an ultra-rare 1974 D cent could exist with traits never intended for circulation, breaking every rule and igniting bidding wars unlike anything the market has seen. Now imagine a coin struck on a wrong planchet, where the familiar Lincoln design sits atop a lightweight silver-colored blank mint for another denomination, an error so dramatic that even a casual viewer would recognize that something is different. And if such a coin bears the D mint mark of Denver, it would instantly become one of the most valuable coins in the world because its very existence would contradict official policy, making it a treasure wrapped in controversy, rarity, and historical importance. But rarity doesn't stop there, because the 1974 D penny becomes even more valuable when combined with classic mint errors like double dies, where design elements appear doubled due to misalignment between the hub and die during the striking process, creating shadow-like details especially visible on the date, mint mark, or inscriptions like Liberty and I in God We Trust. And dramatic doubling can make a coin extremely desirable to collectors who chase the bold visual impact of such mistakes, especially when the error is crisp and easily seen without magnification. Then there are off-center strikes, where the coin is not perfectly centered at the moment of striking and part of the design shifts dramatically, leaving a blank crescent area where metal was not struck, and the value increases when the date and mint mark remain fully visible, allowing collectors to easily identify and attribute the error. And some off-center examples with wide blank areas and sharp detail have sold for astonishing prices, especially when combined with other anomalies, such as planchet flaws or doubling. Another thrilling category is die cracks and cuts, which take shape when the die begins to break or suffers damage, forming raised, jagged lines across Lincoln's face or the reverse design, or forming blobs of metal along the rim, where pieces of the die have broken away. And the bigger the cut, the more impressive the error, especially if the coin remains in high condition. And when multiple die breaks appear simultaneously, the combined effect can turn an ordinary coin into a masterpiece of minting imperfection worth big money. Broad strikes add another unusual trait, occurring when the retaining collar fails and the coin spreads outward, losing its standard rim and taking on a wider, flatter shape that instantly stands out, and collectors love the exaggerated appearance, especially when it remains fully detailed and shows dramatic character. And if a broad strike coincides with other errors, it can bring tremendous value. The 1974 D cent may also show struck-through errors where foreign materials, such as fibers, threads, or bits of metal became trapped between planchet and die, leaving ghost-like imprints or depressions on the coin's surface, making every example totally unique. And dramatic strike-throughs, especially when they affect Lincoln's portrait or the date, become desirable and eye-catching pieces that collectors chase intensely. Another rare and astonishing possibility is that a 1974 D cent could exist on an aluminum planchet rather than the traditional bronze-based composition. And although the mint publicly maintains that Denver never struck aluminum cents, speculation continues that a worker may have tested or accidentally fed an aluminum blank into the coining press, creating an experimental anomaly that escaped into the world. And if such an example exists with the 1974 D mint mark clearly visible, it would be one of the most valuable and controversial coins in history, instantly capable of commanding $16 million or more, because it would be a direct contradiction to official history, positioned at the center of numismatic controversy and excitement. Transitional planchet errors also form part of this legend, involving coins struck on materials meant for earlier or later years, resulting in slight weight differences, unusual colors, or unique surface textures, and one such piece emerging with perfect clarity and strong strike could send shockwaves through collector circles. Wrong planchet errors also include cases where a cent design is struck on a dime-sized planchet, creating an underweight and silver-colored coin with distorted details. And such a piece would be immediately recognized as wrong and worthy of intense investigation, because discovering such a specimen would rewrite known history about 1970s experimentation at the Mint and send bidding into extraordinary territory. Another extraordinary possibility would be a rotated die error, where the obverse and reverse do not align correctly, creating a twisted rotation between sides, and dramatic rotations are rare and highly collectible, especially when combined with other anomalies, such as doubled dies or off-center strikes, forming a multi-error masterpiece worth staggering amounts. A truly exceptional 1974 cent might even combine several rare errors at once. Perhaps a wrong planchet strike with dramatic doubling, a massive cud, and a rotated die, turning it into a spectacular, unparalleled coin so unique that serious collectors would view it as the masterpiece of modern minting anomalies, instantly pushing its worth into multi-million-dollar territory and beyond. Because coins with multiple layered errors are among the rarest and most desirable numismatic wonders, treasured not for perfect craftsmanship, but for their glorious imperfection. Condition is also a major factor, because error coins preserved in pristine or near uncirculated condition become exponentially more valuable. And a rare 1974 error penny with crisp, sharp details and full brilliance would be far more desirable than one that circulated heavily, making the survival of such a piece even more miraculous and fueling its multi-million-dollar valuation. And the excitement is amplified by the possibility that such a coin may still be out there unnoticed, hiding in an old collection, a forgotten envelope, or a dusty drawer, waiting for someone to recognize its value and bring it to light. And that sense of possibility drives collectors to inspect every coin carefully, hoping to find a legendary piece that could transform their lives forever. Stories continue to circulate about mysterious examples surfacing in private hands, fueling debate and excitement within the hobby. And with every rumor, every discovery, and every whisper of an unusual 1974 cent appearing somewhere, the legend grows stronger, inspiring collectors to search deeper and believe that miracles can still be found in the world of pocket change. The 1974 1 cent represents not just a coin, but a symbol of numismatic mystery, historical curiosity, and the thrill of the unknown. A reminder that even in mass production, errors can appear that change everything, creating treasures of unimaginable value. And the thought that a tiny copper-colored coin could be worth $16 million reminds us that the unexpected is always possible, that history is full of surprises, and that the next great discovery could be resting unnoticed in the palm of your hand, waiting for someone with the courage and curiosity to look closer and unlock its hidden story.